Many years ago, Germans traveled to Washington, Missouri. Germans came to Washington because they were fleeing religious persecution. German Catholics had fled Western Germany, where the Protestants had kicked them out. They chose to move to Washington, Missouri because it has a similar natural landscape to Germany. Godfrey Duden published a book called Report on Journey to the Western States of North America, and a stay several years along the Missouri during the years 1824, 25, 26, and 27.
Wine has influenced a big part of German culture. Wine was and still is easy to grow in Washington because the soil is similar to the soil in Germany. Washington has terrain that is similar to the terrain of Germany, making it easier to grow grapes. Terry, a local grape farmer, has lived in Herman and has grown grapes for over 30 years. Herman is a close town that is located 30 minutes west of Washington via Highway 100.
They decided that not just normal production of wine was something they wanted to do, but also the propagation of grapes. And so all along the Missouri River, they established huge vineyards that they grew basically rootstock that they would then ship all over to people who wanted various varieties of grapes. And for many decades, that's what the Herman area was known for its propagation of grapes.
Beer has also had a big influence in culture in Washington, Missouri. John B. Bush, a famous beer brewer, went to Washington and established a brewery in 1854 called Bush Brewery. Bush Brewery grew in Washington's reputation as a reputable beer brewing area. Eberhard Anheuser was John B. Bush's father-in-law, who created a world-renowned beer brewery called Anheuser-Busch.
Owen, a Washington native who now lives in Germany, talks about the significance of beer brewing in Washington.
What role does local brewing play in bringing people together in Washington?
When I first started brewing, there was one phrase I heard over and over and over, and that was, beer brings people together, which I very strongly believe in. Alcohol, historically, is a social lubricant, and people would congregate around alcohol. There's a long joke that alcohol built civilization. If you look at the Fertile Crescent, where brewing was created and where humanity first got its start in agriculture, one of the reasons for domestication of grains such as einkorn and barley was to use for brewing. We domesticated plants so we could make things to enjoy with our friends, in a very simplified way of saying it. And you can see that in any community. Any pub, brewery, they're great places. Like, you tell your friends, let's go meet down at the bar, down at the pub, down at the brewery. It's a point of community, and it's very important to have, and brewing does facilitate that.
Katie, a lead historian at the Washington.Historical Society, talks about the history of the John B. Bush Brewing Company in Washington and how it still lives on today.
The John B. Bush Brewing Company was a family brewing. Their goal was really to be more of a traditional German-style neighborhood brewer. John ran it until his death, and then it was actually run by his wife, which for the time was quite impressive. She was the vice president of operations, and his son then was the president. When they got to Prohibition, they sold everything that they owned to a brewer in Honduras, and they started making other products so that they could survive. One of the things that they made was a non-alcoholic beer beverage, as they called it at the time, called Busho. So they called it a non-alcoholic cereal beverage, which sounds terribly unappetizing, but it went over as well as it sounds. But they also were helping with Anheuser-Busch to bottle this syrup that would help you to make brew at home. So that was something that was a workaround from the law. They also made potato chips, which did not go over very well. I don't know if they were the head of their time or if they were just really bad at making potato chips, because how do you mess that up? But the potato chips that they made did not sell very well. So then, like most other brewers, they were doing bottling of sparkling water and they were making sodas. We actually here at the Washington Historical Society have several of the original recipes for the sodas that they made during Prohibition.
Washington has been centered around German heritage, including beer and wine production. As you can see, Washington remains a small but important part of American history.